So, I imagine that you're probably by now just eager to hear some good stories about Vishnu, so let's get right down to it. We're going to be looking at two myths in particular about Vishnu in our session. Neither of them, interestingly enough, is actually taken from a Vaishnava Purana, meaning a Purana that was expressly written by and for devotees of Vishnu, for Vaishnavas. Instead, the first one we'll look at is the story of Kurma, the tortoise, comes from the Agni Purana, which is a Purana not particularly allied with any sect, Shaiva or Vaishnava. The second is the story of Narasimha, the man lion, and this comes from actually the Shiva Purana, a text that we actually looked at last time in the Shiva unit, and which is obviously oriented towards Shiva and not Vishnu. Anyway, it's an interesting example, I think, of how these different sects weren't totally hostile towards each other, but shared quite a bit of mythological material in common and were interested in each other's stories. So how do they tell these stories? Let's take a look first at the story of Kurma, and in the next segment we'll look at Narasimha. The fascinating myth of Kurma the tortoise can be sort of summarized in the following way. The gods and demons, as they always are locked in a kind of perennial battle. The demons actually at some point start to get an upper hand. The gods start to get really worried about this. So they go to Vishnu and ask for his help. Vishnu tells them they should, maybe the one idea is to declare a truce with the demons and convince the demons that they all need to work together to churn the ocean, because there's all kinds of interesting things located at the bottom that are of interest to both. And they can bring them up if they work together, including the nectar that could give everybody immortality, which is called Amrita. The gods and demons agree to this truce, and they work together to start churning the ocean. To do so, they used a massive mountain called the Mandara as a churning rod. They also use a massive serpent named Vasuki as a rope, and they use the serpent to twist this churning rod, this mountain, back and forth. Now, as they're churning, the mountain keeps slipping down into the mud at the bottom of the earth. And so Vishnu has to take this form of a giant turtle. He dives down to the bottom of the sea, and he acts as a pivot so that the mountains on his back and the rod won't slip. Right? As the churning goes on, all kinds of things start to come up, including the deadly hala poison, which Shiva swallows and keeps in his throat in order to save the earth. Vishnu finally comes out carrying the nectar, but the demons manage to steal half of it. Vishnu then takes on the appearance of a beautiful woman named Mohini, who goes and seduces the demons into letting her serve them the nectar. Then as she gets it, she runs and brings it back to the gods. As she's running back, Shiva sees Mohini and gets infatuated with her and chases after Mohini. He gets excited and he spills his seed actually in different places, which creates sacred lingas in the earth wherever they fall. These drops of his seed. So let's see how the story unfolds in the text of the Agni Purana. I shall relate the tortoise avatara that destroys the sins of those who hear it. Long ago, in the battle between the gods and the asuras, the gods were defeated by the demons. Because of Durvasa's curse, they became bereft of good fortune. This is the reference to another myth here. Anyway, praising Vishnu who had gone to the ocean of milk, they said, "Protect us from the demons." Hari replied to Brahma and the other gods, "Make a compact with the demons to churn the milky ocean for the nectar that'll restore your good fortune, O gods. One should treat one's enemies when something important is to be done. I shall see to it that you drink the nectar, not the demons. Using Mount Mandara as a churning stick and the snake Vasuki as a rope, unflaggingly churn the milky ocean with my help." Now, after making an agreement with the demons that Vishnu had advised, the gods went to the ocean of milk and, taking Vasuki's tail, began to churn. Because the unsupported mountains sank down into the water as they stirred up the sea, Vishnu took the form of a tortoise and held Mount Mandara on his back. From the milky ocean that was being churned in this way arose the poison Halakala. Hara, Shiva, took it in his throat, and because of this, his throat turned blue. Then the goddess Varuni came forth. She's going to be actually the wife of the god Varuna. Then the coral tree Parijata. And then the jewel named Kaustubha. That's the one that Vishnu wears on his chest. Then cows, celestial nymphs, apsarasas, the goddess Lakshmi, who went to Vishnu, to Hari. Seeing her and praising her, the gods all regained their good fortune. This is there to emphasize what happens when you worship Lakshmi. Actually, you gain good fortune. Let's see what happens next. Then Vishnu arose as Dhanvantari, the promulgator of the Ayurveda, holding a jar that was filled with nectar. This could be actually an interesting reference that's trying to connect the Ayurveda, this ancient science of medicine, to kind of a mythological grounding within Hinduism. So it's kind of a foundational myth for the Ayurveda tradition, maybe. Anyway, the demons took the nectar from his grasp and gave half of it to the gods. When Jamba and the other demons had taken it, Vishnu assumed a female form. She's usually called Mohini here, this form. When they saw a beautiful woman appear, the deluded demons said, "Please be our wife, fair-faced one. Bring the nectar and give it to us to drink." Agreeing to this, Hari took the nectar from the demons and gave it to the gods to drink instead. Another fascinating thing happens here. Let's check it out. Pretending to be the moon, one demon named Rahu was exposed by the sun and the moon while he drank the nectar. Right? There's a infiltrator here. Hari then cut off his head. This became separate. This head, now separate, became immortal through the grace of the nectar. So Rahu spoke to Vishnu, "Let the sun and moon undergo eclipses because of me." Thus Rahu became the cause of eclipses. Gifts given at such times are inexhaustible. Now let's see how it all ends. "So be it," said Vishnu, with all the immortals as he left the woman's body. Then, when Shiva said, "Show it to me," Lord Vishnu exhibited his female form to Rudra. Fooled by this trick and abandoning his wife Gauri, Shiva went after this woman. Naked and crazed looking, he grabbed the woman's hair. She shook herself loose and fled with Shiva in pursuit. Wherever Shiva's semen spilled on the earth, there appeared a sacred place of lingas, which are as good as gold. After Shiva had recognized her to be an illusion and had resumed his own form, Vishnu said to Shiva, "Rudra, you have seen through my deception. There is no other person on earth but you who can conquer it." Then the demons who had been deprived of the nectar were felled by the gods in battle, and the deities went to live in heaven. Here comes the payoff now. Whoever recites this story will also go to heaven. That's going to be a pretty common kind of payoff in these mythological stories throughout the Puranas, actually. We've even seen similar rewards in the Vedic texts, kind of, as well, if you remember. Now let's leave the story here, take a break, maybe, and see how the next avatara of Vishnu is described in the Puranas, his incarnation as Narasimha, the half-man, half-lion hybrid who's going to come to Earth to rid it of another evil demon king. So, see